schools and universities. Worthy of note that technology integration falls under the STEM initiative, which was rolled out by our Department of Education earlier this year. Among the skills which would be introduced in digital literacy are the use of technology for collaboration and communication, digital citizenship in a global world, and creative digital solutions such as coding. Skills like coding will produce students who are better prepared for new and emerging fields such as robotics and programming and development, which will prepare students for current and future employment opportunities. Coding also builds critical thinking and collaboration skills needed to access existing scholarships and careers, and we hope will create avenues for new careers as well. I want to just pause a moment to underscore the significance of this initiative. It came at substantial cost to the Nevis Island administration, but we thought it was a necessary cost. When the CCM party that I'm privileged to lead campaigned in the last election, we set out that we wanted to do a few things. We wanted to introduce Mandarin as a second language in our schools. We have done so. We wanted to also introduce coding in our schools, and this is a monumental step forward in achieving that. We are not, however, just looking at coding. We are looking at technology and greater use of technology in our schools. You would no doubt have heard that we are, again, in the throes of distributing laptops and having access to greater technology for our students, tablets, various devices. We started this during COVID, where we provided these devices to those children who did not have. And in addition to that, we ensured that the homes that these children live in had internet access. So we are trying to level, if you will, the playing field for everybody. I think in the UK they have a term, they call it level up, I think they call it, something to that nature. We are trying to bring everybody up and allow everybody, and we think technology is the great leveler. Technology is the great equalizer. And so our effort in Estonia is not by chance. It is a deliberate effort to engage with the experts there. And it is my hope when I engage in the debriefing session with the team that would have traveled, that we would be placed in a position to then come to the public to announce what next steps we're going to take. Now, for those out there who are wondering, why are you going down this road? We are realizing that there's a lot of money, for example, to be made by those who are working from home, but are working for major companies doing coding, doing various technological jobs. And so we see that as part of equipping our people for the new world, that these are critical skills that should be taught to them. Coding, I am advised, is what is used to develop apps that we use every day. We don't even think about them. We pick up our phone, we use apps, we get to know what the weather is, we get to know what's happening around the world, and all of those are a result of coders who develop these apps. And so I feel that this is a monumental first step in getting us to where we want to go. And I would want to thank very much the Minister of Education, the Honorable Troy Liburd, who sees and understands that vision of this government and is working closely with his team to deliver that vision for the people of Nevis. It is ironic, members of the press, that I attended the Prime Minister's lecture as part of the Independence 40 celebrations, and a very impressive young woman there called Psyche Southwell. She spoke at length about her own career in technology, and she said that coding was one of the things that she suggested that we introduce in our schools. And I smiled, because even as she was telling us about it, our team was already in Estonia looking at this possibility for the island of Nevis. So we see ourselves very much as a pilot program, and if it can work here, just as we did with Mandarin, we feel that it can be rolled out to the entire Federation in due course. In fact, the takeaway that I had from her speech was that there's something called Python, which she said we should definitely ensure that our young people learn. Now, I don't know what Python is, but she did say that this was apparently some kind of I don't know what the language now is. Perhaps somebody can help me. But some kind of programming that people can learn. Python, she said. And so I'm hopeful that in due course we can come back and say how we're going to do the coding. We do not yet have a model, but that is part of why we've gone on the study tour, to find a model that we can introduce it. Will we do it at the primary school level? Will we do it at the high school level? Will we do it within the school settings, or will we do it in the community centers? All of those are questions that we will answer and come back to you as members of the public. Let me segue now to the Ministry of Health, and I have some critical updates there as well. We continue in this government to expand the range of services available on the island of Nevis, healthcare services. We have invested and continue to invest. We have partnered and continue to partner to bring more technology, more expertise, more diagnostic tools, and better healthcare to the island of Nevis. The Alexandria Hospital, I'm pleased to announce, is now in possession of an EVO Picture Archiving and Communication System, PACS. We have had this system installed, state-of-the-art, courtesy of the Patrick and Lena Drahi Foundation. You will recall that I had come in the past to say that this very foundation had contributed a CT scan, state-of-the-art CT scan, 128-slice Philips CT scan machine, which was over $1 million US. They've come back now and contributed some $69,000 US towards the purchase of this highly digitized system. The PACS system is a modality of imaging technology which helps in image transmission from the site of the image acquisition to multiple physical disparate locations. This technology is not only economical, but also convenient to access multiple modalities, X-rays, CT scans, ultrasound, etc. It allows you to access them simultaneously at multiple locations within hospitals or across the world. I want to go on record again to express the government's profound gratitude to the Drahi Foundation for its continued partnership in the delivery of healthcare on the island of Nevis. Now, I have gone to see what this PACS system, quite expensive system, is all about. And what I'm now being told by the technocrats is that when you do a CT scan or an ultrasound or an X-ray, that they can now send the images to the doctor's offices. And the doctors can now access the system from the comfort of their offices. So that your doctor who sent you to do the CT scan can now sit in his or her office and look at the images on his or her screen. And so this is a giant step forward for us here on the island of Nevis, and I believe that all of us should be pleased with this type of progress. Let me go on record also to thank the St. Kitts and Nevis Circle of Care, which is a non-profit group in Canada, who recently donated 2 boxes and a barrel of medical supplies for use at the Flamboyant Nursing Home. My dear friend, Miss Janet Maynard, and Janet, if you're listening, I say good morning to you in Canada. She's a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis and a member of the group. She resides in Canada, and she has been absolutely instrumental in facilitating the donations to the Ministry of Health. For those of you who are wondering who Janet is, you may know her brother, who is Mr. Skeet, who had the Sea Hustler for many years. And Janet has really been in the forefront all throughout COVID. She and her group, the St. Kitts and Nevis Circle of Care, were donating, collecting, and sending donations here in substantial volumes that came here for the benefit of the people of Nevis. So I say thank you to them. On Thursday, September 7th, the Department of Gender Affairs officially launched its Action Plan Daycare Assistance Program. Colleagues of the press, members of the press, and those who are listening and viewing, I have spoken about this program before because I'm exceedingly proud of it. I'm proud of it because it came about from consultations that we had on the block, if you will, talking to people, finding out from them what the concerns were, seeking to ascertain how we could help. And this daycare assistance program came about as a result. It was officially launched on the 7th of September under the leadership of the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, our Minister of Health, and it will provide vouchers of up to $300 EC per month for parents to pay their child care service costs. Persons eligible for the program are single parents with a monthly income of $2,000 or less, and dual parent households earning $3,000 or less per month. Children must be citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, age 3 or younger. The vouchers will be provided for a maximum of 2 children per household. Eligible persons can contact the Department of Gender at 469-5521, extension 6750 for more information. Registration is ongoing. Now, the purpose of this program is not just to give away money. The purpose of this program is to assist persons who actually need that assistance. We recognize that many parents, and unfortunately many of those parents are single parents, and many of the single parents are single mothers, that they are finding it difficult to pay for childcare services and still go to work. And so oftentimes they fall behind, or their children can't go to daycare because they simply can't afford it. So we have decided to step in and to assist. This is another campaign commitment that we made, and a campaign commitment that we have now satisfied. Originally, the thinking was that we would build a daycare center. That was the original thinking. But through the Honorable Minister and her team, they came and they said, you know what, rather than building a center to compete with existing daycare centers, why not support them as small businesses by allowing more people to send their children to daycare, and for the government to assist in that regard. So if you're out there, you have children under the age of 3, and those children need to go to daycare, and you're earning less than $2,000 per month, you are eligible. Please come in and speak to us. If you are in a dual parent household and your combined income is less than $3,000 a month, then please come in and talk to us. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 children under 3, we can only manage 2, and so we're keeping to a maximum of 2 children per household. So these are the rules. Please go in and take advantage of these programs, which are designed to help people who need it most. I like to talk about a hand up. It is not a hand out. The idea really is to assist people, and at the same time, work with the existing daycare centers to guarantee them a pool of charges that they take care of from day to day. Let me incidentally say that I had the privilege of going to a small daycare center right here in Bath Plain. It is called, the name always gives me difficulty, you know what? I'm not going to even bother with the name. It's the most difficult name to pronounce. But it is right here next to the government house. And I went there recently. They had a wonderful patriotic celebration. And I was really amazed to see all of these little children there, dressed in their colors. And so I want to give them maximum props and congratulations. Not just them, but all of the daycare centers that are performing throughout the island. And so I wish them well and pray that they continue from strength to strength. In celebrating the Joseph and France Hemodialysis Center's 10th anniversary, this is the center on St. Kitts, a week of activities was held from September 6th to 10th, and that included an excursion to Nevis. Some 21 persons traveled to Nevis on Sunday, September 10th, to socialize with their Nevision patients. The group included a resident nephrologist and resident vascular surgeon, nursing staff, as well as hemodialysis patients. The group visited the Indian Castle Fruit Orchard and then joined the Nevis patients, minister, and other Ministry of Health officials for worship at the Eden Brown Church of God. The group concluded their visit with lunch and socialization at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. It is important to note that the Nevis Island Administration is currently providing support to 8 Nevisions, utilizing the services at the center in terms of treatment and transportation to and from St. Kitts. The Gender Affairs Department will be hosting a financial literacy seminar as part of Financial Information Month. The topic for the seminar is Money and Financial Wellness, Overcoming Financial Challenges, and this seminar will happen on October 19th at the St. Paul's Anglican Church from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Registration is now open and the seminar is free. Please contact Gender Affairs at 469-5521, extension 6751. The winner of the Gender Affairs Grill Master competition, my cousin from Hanley's Road, Damian Pemberton of Big Six Flavors, will be traveling to Palm Bay, Florida to compete in the 7th annual Dr. Packer, another man from Hanley's Road, backyard barbecue competition on October 14th. It looks like Dr. Packer now has an international competition. He will represent the department in this competition. That is, Damian Pemberton from Big Six will represent the department in this competition. We wish to thank the Finnish Touch, Islander Water Sports, and Big Six Flavors for sponsoring this initiative. An important notification, members of the press. The Ministry of Health wishes to inform the general public that there has been confirmation of dengue outbreaks in some of our neighboring islands: Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados, and St. Vincent. Nevis is not immune, as we have the vector, the Aedes mosquito, that transmit the disease here on the island. We are living in a global world and have frequent travel to and from these countries. We therefore continue to encourage persons to keep their surroundings clean and to get rid of items that can facilitate mosquito breeding. You are also asked to call the Environmental Health Department if you have serious concerns about mosquitoes in your area. They will be instrumental in assessing the area to further encourage source reduction and to provide target fogging where necessary. Information data is needed to guide their actions, so let us all work together to keep dengue out of Nevis. Lastly, a visiting team from Taipei Veterans General Hospital in Taiwan were recently in Nevis to meet with Minister General Nisbet and her health team. Project Coordinator William Chen introduced a team which consisted of a chief resident, Department of Endocrinology and Metabolism, and a registered dietitian. And they came to look at and get an update on the capacity building project for the prevention and control of metabolic chronic diseases that is currently ongoing. A workshop is also being held today, and those professionals will be interacting with our professionals here. I go on record to thank again the government and people of the Republic of China, Taiwan, for their ongoing partnership, particularly in healthcare and preventative healthcare, in terms of allowing our people to know their condition, to focus on leading healthier lifestyles, and their work with the Health Promotion Unit has been excellent. SKN Moves 5th Anniversary Walk, a walk for life, let's curb NCTs together, is slated for Saturday, October 7th, starting at 4 a.m. Wow, 4 a.m. from the TDC Car Park, Samuel Hunkins Drive, from the TDC Car Park at the Samuel Hunkins Drive. Torch bearers for this event will include a representative from the Ministry of Health, Alexandria Hospital Community Health Nurse in Taiwan, ICDF, Health Promotion Unit, Red Cross, Renal Society, and Pink Lily. The walk, that's why they're starting so early. The walk will be a full island walk, and persons can join at any station. Registration is now open. Supplies are limited. So please call the Health Promotion Unit, 469-5521, extension 6393 for more information. You can get a full package, T-shirt, water bottle, gift and breakfast for $60, T-shirt and gift only $40, or your breakfast only $20. Bring your water bottle. They will have refilling stations along the way. The Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, formerly known as the Mental Health Center, as part of their annual Mental Health Week of activities, slated for October 8th to 14th, invites the general public to their annual Fit and Wellness Walk on Saturday, October 14, 2023. The walk starts at 5:30 a.m. in front of Malcolm Guichard Park, up the bypass road, onto Pump Road, through town, onto the Samuel Hunkins Drive, and back to the park. An important notification: the general public is notified that the Charlestown Health Center will be closed to the public from Wednesday, 27 September to 29 September 2023. The closure is to facilitate the relocation of services to the wards building on the Island Main Road next to Island Tires and Hardware. The health center will be operating from this location as of October 2nd. The dental unit, however, will be relocated at a later date. We, of course, apologize sincerely for the inconvenience this may cause, but we crave your understanding. We have been having some problems with the physical plant at the Charlestown Health Center, and so this is an effort to better serve the public, but also to vacate the current health center to allow us now to do some critical construction work that is necessary there. As I talk about construction, I should also advise that the police department in Charlestown, the police station in Charlestown, has been relocated. They're now at Low Street. And I am pleased to say that the construction for the remedial work at that Charlestown police station has now commenced. And so we hope that the police will be able to relocate to their home at the Charlestown police station in due course, but currently there is some construction activity that's happening there. Again, we apologize for that inconvenience. Since the installation of the CT scan at the Alexandra Hospital, I am pleased to advise that some 165 patients have been able to use that piece of equipment. And since we've introduced the brand new mammogram at the hospital and have sought to encourage our women in particular to go and use this service, in fact, not only are we encouraging it, we're offering the service for free until the end of the year. And women over 40 in particular, we're urging that you go. I'm pleased to say that some 149 women have so far responded to that call. And I use this rostrum to encourage other women to please come forward and get your mammogram done. We know that breast cancer is something that kills, but we also know that it can be treated if detected early. And a mammogram is still one of the best ways to detect aberrations in breast tissue that can be cancerous. And so we urge our women to know their status. And as I said, in an effort to encourage as many women as possible, we're offering this service for free, F-R-E-E, free, until the end of the year. I specify and stress until the end of the year because come January morning, there will be a charge for the service. But for now, the service is free. So those women out there, please go to your doctor, get a referral, and get your mammogram done and know your status. Let me switch to social empowerment. The Social Services Department Division celebrated with Mrs. Leontine Clark, Nevis's newest centenarian, on Friday the 21st of September, which marked Ms. Clark's 100th birthday. Her family, along with close relatives and friends, joined Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, our Governor General, Her Honor Mrs. Hailita Liebert, our Deputy Governor General, and the Honorable Ministers Eric Evelyn and Troy Liebert, and the Assistant Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Transformation, D. Michelle Rollins, as well as social services staff organizers. They were all on hand to celebrate our newest centenarian, Mrs. Leontine Clark. And so I extend very warm birthday greetings to Mrs. Clark and thank her family for taking good care of her. And of course, thank our Governor General and the Deputy Governor General for being on hand to celebrate this momentous occasion, 100 years old. It seems to me, ladies and gentlemen, that we're doing rather well in Nevis because quite a few of our people are getting to that 100 years old, that century. And let us all hope that all of us here in the room and all of us watching and viewing will get to that 100 years as well. We just have to live right, be contented, have good hearts, and we will live long. In related news, the Seniors Division of the Department of Social Services is poised to celebrate International Day of Older Persons under the theme Fulfilling the Promises of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for Older Persons. A full month of activities have been planned. They are, of course, going to have the usual church service. They're having a seniors march, beachnik for our seniors, elocution contests for our seniors, a sports meet at the ETW Park for the seniors, and then on the 2nd of November, an event which I believe I should go to. They're going to have a dance with a 70s theme at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. The public is asked to give full support to these events. Community and faith-based organizations are all being asked to plan and execute activities in celebration of senior citizens in communities across the island. I want to go on record yet again to say that the island of Nevis has one of the best senior citizens programs in the region. I don't say that lightly. We have one of the best programs in the region in terms of how we take care of our senior citizens, the extent and level of activities to which we expose our senior citizens. And I want to commend all of those who are involved in this critical process of caring for our people. I started out talking about the vouchers for those who need daycare. That means we're taking care of people when they're young children. We're also taking care of people when they're senior citizens. It means that the island of Nevis is taking care of our people from the time that they're born to the time that they die. We are taking care of people at all levels and all ages and all stages of their life. And I think that that should be commended. We recently concluded 2 major education activities with clients enrolled in the Poverty Alleviation Program. As part of that program's new thrust to incorporate relevant training as well as casework and more effective program monitoring. Now, we understand that this is a federal program, but this Department of Social Empowerment here is involved in executing that program on the island of Nevis. So on the 1st of September, 108 persons benefited from a family disaster planning training, which was aimed at equipping people with the tools that they need in the event of a disaster. And prior to that, we had training of 60 individuals in conjunction with the Health Promotion Unit, and that was focused on non-communicable diseases, encouraging people to know their status, to do the necessary things that we are told: moderate exercise, controlling your intake of alcohol, controlling what you eat and how you eat. All of those are important. And so we are not just giving people $500 and leaving them. We are also saying to them that there are certain skills and certain information that they need to incorporate into their day-to-day lives, and we are engaged in that. The department wishes me to say that it is very pleased with the level of compliance with the new conditions of this poverty alleviation program, and we continue to urge clients on the program to continue to take advantage of new opportunities for holistic personal and family advancement under the program. Let me quickly speak to an initiative that was introduced this year as part of our Independence 40 celebrations, and that was Community Day. On September 14th, the Department of Community Development celebrated Community Day under the theme Recognizing Our Unsung Heroes. The department recognized one individual from each parish for his or her outstanding contributions to the overall development of their community through community engagement and the implementation of community-based activities. This was an all-day activity held in all 5 parishes across various community centers. I'm exceedingly proud that this government and the Department of Community Development took a view that we ought to celebrate these persons who continue to do excellent work in our communities, but are not on any headlines. They're not in the photo ops. They are working. They are occupied with seeking to do the best that they can to make their communities better. And I want to mention them. In St. John's Parish, my dear cousin, Alicia Brown, known to all as Lisa. She's a founding member of the Brownhill Management team and has helped to implement the Brownhill Community Garden. And the Brownhill Community Garden, incidentally, is something I think other communities need to replicate, because it is a garden run entirely by volunteers from the community, and they produce an enormous amount of food from a very small plot of land. And that food is then used to give to some people in the community that need it. They also sell to provide resources for their other programs, such as meals that they provide to the elderly. And so I want to commend Alicia Brown. She doesn't like when people call her Alicia. So Lisa Brown, for her excellent, excellent service, and she is certainly one of our unsung heroes. In St. Paul's Parish, they awarded Conrad Smitten from Craddock Road. He has worked diligently in the areas of community involvement, sport, and youth development, and for the past 45 years made significant contributions toward the Craddock Road Christmas tree lighting and other areas. Over the past 30 years, he has sponsored and donated to sports events at Charlestown Primary, Moorcross Preparatory, and served as field marshal for the Inter-Primary School Championship. I know Conrad well, and Conrad's own personal home in Craddock Road was for many years one of the best sites for us who used to drive around looking at Christmas lights. and he has really distinguished himself, and I congratulate him as an unsung hero, now recognized by our Department of Community Affairs. In St. Thomas's Parish, we had Miss Sandrine Caesar. Miss Caesar in 2014 founded the Cades Bay Westbury Community Group, and she currently serves as president of the group. Over the years, she has participated in community cleanups and various fundraisers such as breakfast sales, bake sales, fish fries, and more. She's the main organizer of the annual Cades Bay Westbury Christmas tree lighting. In the weeks and days leading up to Christmas, Sandrine can be seen coordinating this event, cleaning the site, decorating the tree, cooking, cheering, doing all manner of things. And so we would want to congratulate Mrs. Sandrine Caesar on being an unsung hero from the parish of St. Thomas's. In the parish of St. James, those at the community development thought that the unsung hero there was Winston Leighton Shuckle Bryant. He is from Brick Hill. He is described as a man who goes above and beyond for members of his community. He has worked as a bus driver for 25 years and is a member of the Nevis Buses Association. And we all know that bus drivers are more than just bus drivers. They go off route sometimes to take persons. They run errands for people. They carry people's bags. They help the elderly. And so the department saw it fit to celebrate Mr. Winston Leighton Shuckle Bryant from Brick Hill as an unsung hero in the parish of St. James. In St. George's Parish, the unsung hero there was Joyce Movin, who is from Fothergills, and everybody knows Joyce. Joyce works and is indefatigable when it comes to her efforts on behalf of the community. She has served as an active member of numerous community groups and committees, including Hickman Sports and Development Club, St. George's Development and Enhancement Committee, St. George's Anglican Mothers Union, and she's a member of the Jeff Small Grants Program National Steering Committee. She has done so much, organized camps for children from her community and neighboring villages. She has been involved in the group's projects, which include road repairs, cleaning of the community, building of community's water dam and community center, being instrumental in obtaining street lights for her community. She's organized Whit Monday Fun Days in the community for over 10 years, and I can go on and on. Miss Joyce Movin, our unsung hero from the parish of St. George. And so those are the 5. I wanted to mention them because I'm hopeful that their service will serve as a beacon for others, an encouragement for others to do likewise. Let me switch now to the Ministry of Works. Good news for the people of Bath Village that the main road rehabilitation project is coming to a close. The final grading is being done on the last section of the Upper Bath Road from the Thompson's residence and onwards. The targeted dates for asphalting is Thursday and Friday of this week. So that is this week, Thursday and Friday, we should be done. And those who know Bath would know that that is the area that is going back to the property there of Mr. and Mrs. Dick. That is the area that we are doing. Thereafter, we will look at some of the side roads, but that is the main road, and that will complete the Bath Main Road project. We have also completed in Cotton Ground the Banjo Road, as it's referred to. That is now done. We've left that project. And rehabilitation reconstruction has been ongoing on the Charlestown Pinneys Bypass Road. That project, as you know, was contracted out. If you're driving it now, it almost looks like it's ready because they have stripped most of it and the surface is already better than it was. So lots of complaints about the condition of that road. We have heard the complaints. We're fixing that road. They've given us a schedule of 100 days, they say. We will see whether or not they achieve that, but quite a lot of work is going on already. I'm told approximately half a kilometer of that road is being prepped for asphalting already. So the company is moving quite quickly. They are doing some concrete drain construction on the Pump Road. Drainage systems and structures are currently under construction in the area of the Observer Building and Zone 1 Auto Parts Store. We are also undertaking some works in the Rollins Village area along the section of roadway from Mrs. Mary Herbert to the intersection by the concrete water dam. This section of roadway is prone to uncontrolled runoff when it rains, and over the years, the Herbert's properties has borne the brunt of this uncontrolled runoff. The project is being undertaken with the primary goal of creating a drainage system to better channel the runoff water along that section of roadway and to bring some relief to those individuals who have suffered. The culvert just below the Freeman's residence has been extended, and concrete block walls and a U-drain are currently under construction. An important notice, ladies and gentlemen, the department will undertake demolition and rehabilitation works of the concrete culvert on the Samuel Hunkins Drive, which is adjacent to the Octagon Bar. A significant portion of the concrete structures on the culvert have deteriorated to a critical stage and must now be replaced. The work is scheduled to commence on September 29th. This project will necessitate the partial closure of the Samuel Hunkins Drive for a period of time. The department has put plans in place to limit the closure to as short a time as possible. We have already had discussion with the traffic department about the traffic impacts and possible detours. More information will be provided as we get closer to that date, but we have deterioration there. We want to be safe, and so the experts have decided that we have to reconstruct that culvert. Switching quickly to water. Water rationing, unfortunately, is continuing. We have been blessed with some rain in recent months, but the water rationing continues as the well sites are still very much depleted and the water levels continue to be low. The department is seeking the understanding of the public and asks that customers try as much as possible to conserve this precious resource. The ministry is currently preparing bidding documents for the drilling of new wells early in the coming new year. We have already identified 5 potential contractors, and by the end of November, we shall have a contractor chosen with a view to have drilling exercises commencing very early in the new year. Let me end this update by looking at tourism. Just to advise the general public that the 10th Tourism Human Resources Conference will be held from October 30th to November 1st in Nevis under the theme Navigating the Next Phase of Caribbean Tourism. This is a conference being put on by the Caribbean Tourism Organization in conjunction with the Nevis Ministry of Tourism and the Nevis Tourism Authority. Human resource professionals and managers in tourism, hospitality, and other service-oriented business establishments are encouraged to register for the conference, which will be hosted for the first time on the island of Nevis. Visit www.onecaribbean.org for registration details, or you may contact the Ministry of Tourism 469-0051 for more information. Let me also say that we are very pleased that the launch of the JetBlue service between the RLB Airport in St. Kitts and JFK International. JFK will introduce a new non-stop service from RLB to JFK as of November 2nd this year. JetBlue will offer 3 flights per week, so that's actually very good. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Flight 2967 will depart from New York at 8:29 a.m., landing in St. Kitts at 2:14 p.m., and the return leg, flight 2968, will leave at 3:30 p.m., leave RLB at 3:30 p.m., and reach New York at 7 p.m. The expansion of JetBlue across the U.S. and Caribbean, including the service to St. Kitts, will allow greater service flights to customers in the airline's New York, Boston, Orlando, and Los Angeles-focused cities at a more affordable rate. So we welcome this. We have for a very long time had a near monopoly by American Airlines, and so this is excellent news. We are hopeful that with this news, we not only drive more traffic, but we also bring down the cost of travel, which, as we know, has been quite prohibitive. And so I commend the Honorable Marsha Hendrickson in St. Kitts, our Minister of Tourism, and her team for negotiating this. And Nevis has joined St. Kitts in various road shows in relation to this new service. So, for example, we just concluded a very successful joint marketing effort, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Kitts Tourism Association, Nevis Tourism Authority, St. Kitts Tourism Authority, and the Nevis Tourism Authority. We just did a road show together in the Northeast United States to promote the destination and the new JetBlue service into St. Kitts beginning on November 2nd. Our cities, the cities there that we visited were Boston, Connecticut. We also went to Long Island, and we went to New Jersey. Over the 4-day period, the St. Kitts and Nevis contingent, including representatives from the NTA and Nevis hoteliers, met with over 250 travel agents via trade shows, dinner presentations, and one-on-one sessions. Nevis, more good news, was recently featured on the Canadian TV show The Social and showcased the island's breathtaking beauty and unique charm. The Social is a widely watched national broadcast show in Canada. The host, Heather Greenwood Davis, a renowned travel expert, would have visited Nevis in 2022 as part of the NTA media trip. She was deeply captivated by our paradise island and chose to feature Nevis in a travel segment dedicated to showcasing the world's most exquisite destinations. Nevis was also featured not once, but twice in the UK publication The Sunday Times. On September 12th, in the first article, author Fiona McIntosh compares her time in Nevis from when she last visited in 1997 to now. Detailing the island is still the same exclusive, genuine gem that it always was. The article was entitled Crazy in Love with Nevis. The second article was written by Nigel Tisdale, listing the Caribbean's best hotels, and these included the Golden Rock Inn and the Montpelier Plantation and Beach. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are my updates. I now invite any questions that you may have, and will try my very best to see how I can answer them. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. Elke Hewlett, Department of Information.
Good morning.
Can you speak to the job climate on Nevis and how that correlates to the growth and development of the island? Second question, it has become apparent that you're still the target of political attacks from former colleagues under the federal cabinet when you would have served as foreign minister. What is your response to these detractors? You highlighted that PM Drew's, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew's participation in the Independence Parade and award ceremony, you described it as historic. Can you speak to that? I think that that's it for now.
The job situation, I think, is good. The Social Security numbers that we have suggest that the job numbers in Nevis are back to pre-COVID levels, back to 2019 levels. The numbers go further and say that our people are now earning substantially more than they did pre-COVID, because Social Security tracks not just the number of jobs, they also track the level of wages that those jobs are generating. And so those numbers are trending in the right direction. So our people have more jobs and are earning more from the jobs that they do have. In addition, we are seeing more and more businesses advertising jobs. In fact, we are now using, and I don't know if it's the appropriate language, but our Labor Department is now acting as an employment agency. So what we're doing is available jobs to advertise those jobs with our Labor Department, and then our Labor Department will match employees to those jobs. And currently, the Labor Department is actively advertising a significant number of jobs. They're looking for jobs in various ways, managers, cashiers, clerks, and so I would encourage people to check with the Labor Department in Nevis. I was just yesterday contacted by a new call center, contact center here. I think they're called Telemed. Yes. They've opened their offices right there in the heart of Charlestown at the St. Jean building. That's right next to the Maud Cross Preparatory School. And they are currently, having opened and started, they're currently advertising for additional workers. On my way here, I also checked with Radius, which is the new call center operating out of Brownhill, and they have advised that they're now up to 50 strong, 50, and they are in the process of taking on additional employees next week. And so I think that these are all very positive signs in terms of the employment climate, especially now when we know that the tourism season is at its off-season now. And so we anticipate that these new investors and these new job opportunities will take up the slack that we might see. I must comment, however, Ms. Hewlett, that one of the concerns that we have is that too many of our people are still saying they can't find work, even though we continue to advertise work and we continue to beg people to apply for the jobs that are there. In fact, I had an interesting exchange with someone who said to me that they're not lucky, so they're not going to bother to apply. And I think if you adopt that attitude, then clearly you will never find a job. So I'm continuing to encourage our people to apply. Knock on the door. See if the door will open for you. If that door doesn't open, knock on the next door. But it is far better for you to go out and seek work than it is for you to decide to stay at home and then complain that you can't find work. Work is available. The fact that some people are doing 2 jobs and some even more suggests that work is available. The Social Security numbers suggest that work is available. But it is for our people to go out and to take advantage of these opportunities and to ensure that they apply for the jobs that are available on the island. I can't emphasize that enough. We cannot sit back. We are not entitled to anything being handed to us and dropping in our laps. If the environment is created and jobs are available, go out and find the jobs. Go out and occupy the jobs. Some people argue and say, oh, I don't want that kind of work. My response to you is that all work is honorable work. And even if it's not the job that you want, you hold that job until you can find the job that you want. They say you do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do. That's a truism. You do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do. It makes no sense to me that people sit at home and refuse to take up certain jobs because they say, that's not what I want to do. So what if what you want to do doesn't come along for 3 years? You stay home for 3 years? And then you turn around and you blame somebody? The government? Somebody else? No. You go out. You engage. And that, I think, is important, and we need to continue to emphasize that our people need to go out and seize these job opportunities. When a business owner is going to reach out to me, and you know what he reached out to me to say? Would we allow him to bring in some workers from overseas? And I said, why? And he said, because he has been advertising for some time, and regrettably, he can't find anyone here. So is it that people are not applying, or you can't find any suitable persons? And he said people were not applying. That is of concern to me. Because in my experience, the same people will then turn around and say, oh, only the foreigners getting jobs in Nevis. Well, if only the foreigners are applying, well, who you expect going to get the job? We need, as a Nevisian people, to get up, take responsibility, and grab these opportunities. You can't vex with anybody if you decide to sit back and don't take advantage of the opportunity. If somebody else decides that they will do so, you can't be upset with them. PM Drew, Miss Hewlett coming over, I think was historic, important on a number of fronts. The independence celebrations this year, I think most people admit, were the best that we've had. It is certainly the biggest outpouring that I've seen in Nevis of patriotic zeal and fervor. And the way that it was structured this year, having the event in St. Kitts on the night of the 18th, allowing us in Nevis then to have the event on the evening of the 19th, meant that it made it possible not only for PM Drew to come to Nevis, being the first Prime Minister since independence to do so, but it also means that the Premier and my team, we were able to go to St. Kitts as well. Now, ordinarily, both ceremonies are happening at the same time. And so it had been impossible over the years. But it shows that with a little creativity, just by changing the timing, we were able to do both. And I think that PM Drew's presence in Nevis, as I said, the first Prime Minister to come since independence, so that's 40 years, that he would have come here and be a part of that celebration, I believe was well received by Nevisians. I want to commend Prime Minister Drew for what he did, because I understood his schedule was incredibly frenetic. In fact, he had not only events in St. Kitts happening, he had a cocktail reception that night at Governor General's, and he left the next day for the United Nations. So he could have easily said, I'm swamped, can't make it, but he made the effort. And he did not come alone, he brought members of his cabinet with him. So I believe that that should be commended, and being the first to do so since independence, I think that that spoke volumes in terms of the efforts that are being made at greater inclusion of the people of Nevis in the federal construct. You see attacks on me from former colleagues. I'm not aware of who those former colleagues are or why they are attacking me. But I'm happy that they're former, and I hope that they stay former, and we'll just have to move on and do what we need to do. The truth is that there are attacks that come from various quarters. Some are looking at a little attention because they have nothing else that's happening for them. Some, I believe, know that they're past their sell-by date, and there's no future for them. As I like to say, their future is behind them. And so I really don't see that there's any need for us who are still here doing the work to respond to some of these persons who spend their time attacking others. I am trying to spend my time, and I am trying to engage with people who are willing to spend their time making suggestions for how we can do what we do better, how we can improve Nevis, how we can improve St. Kitts. But those who are coming just to attack for the sake of attack, then let them continue. At the end of the day, the people would have spoken twice last year. They spoke in August in Nevis, they spoke again in December in Nevis, and both times they said to the concerned citizens movement, you are our preferred choice. Their voice is the voice of God. And so whoever the attackers are, that is their business. The people of Nevis have consistently said that they prefer the concerned citizens movement. And they are who I serve. And it is to them that I am listening. So whoever making noise, that is a matter for them. Let them continue to make the noise. As I say, I am very adept at ignoring the noise. Are there any other questions for me?
Good morning, Premier Brantley.
Good morning.
Glenn Barrett from SKN Newsline. Still on the topic of previous colleagues of yours, last night on a program called Straight Talk, a former member of the Team Unity administration, Mr. Ian Patrice Liebert, made a comment about the Nevis Island administration and Social Security. In fact, he indicated that Social Security owes, the Nevis Island administration owes Social Security probably over $40 million.
Over how much?
Over $40 million,
$40 million
in contributions. I would like you to comment on that if you could. Secondly, with regards to the hospital, now previously you have indicated that some of the delays have been caused by internal redesigns that were necessary by the need for, I think, quantitative matters and so forth. Could this have been the result of inadequate architectural designing in the first place? And secondly, was the tendering process carried out significantly and correctly to sort of prevent these kinds of things from happening? Could you comment on those two things for now? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take the question, the second question first. Hospital development. Mr. Bart, the hospital has been delayed, as we know. And the delay for me is unacceptable. And I'm not going to resile from that. I think that our cabinet colleagues will say that it is a matter that occupies our time each week, because I'm always asking for updates. But I want to be very clear that there has been absolutely no negative impact on our delivery of health care to the people of Nevis at the Alexandra Hospital. I have likened it, Mr. Bart, to you having a family home in which you live and which is functioning just adequately to provide you shelter. You decide that you want to build a second home. The fact that the second home is delayed in terms of its completion does not affect your current ability to have shelter. And that is the best example that I can use. The hospital expansion, as we're calling it, is actually 2.5 times the size of the existing hospital. It is a mammoth project that we're seeking to undertake. But the existing hospital is intact. In fact, as I would have set out in my earlier report on the Ministry of Health, we are now offering even greater services, greater technology, better equipment, and more personnel at that Alexandra Hospital. So it is not as if Nevis's healthcare is on hold as we prepare for this new hospital wing. That is not the case. Our current hospital is functional and functioning, and it is functioning at a better level than it has ever functioned. CT scan, we never had that before. Mammogram, we never had that before. The new PACS system, we never had that before. We have more doctors now, we have nurses, we have more specialists, we have better equipment, brand new ambulances, and I invite anybody to go up, and don't take my word for it, go look for yourself. See what we're doing at the Alexandra Hospital. So I want to divorce the two, because I think that some have tried to conflate the two to suggest that somehow healthcare is being adversely impacted by the fact that the new hospital is not yet finished. The only new service that I anticipate being done in the new hospital would be dialysis services. So if there's any delay that is impacting anyone, it is those dialysis patients, because we hope to be able to offer dialysis services at the new wing when it is completed. I also want to make the point that we had budgeted $20 million for that project. We, based on the last tally that we had spent just about 17, give or take, $1 million. Are we anticipating that there may be a cost overrun? Possibly, because of course construction materials and all that have also escalated during the time. But the point I wish to make is that as I am standing here speaking to you today, Mr. Bard, we have not yet exhausted the amount that we had budgeted for that project. So it would be incorrect for anybody to allege that there's a cost overrun there. There's no cost overrun because we have not yet spent the $20 million that was budgeted. I thought it was important to make those points because the project is delayed. I have said that that delay is unacceptable, and I apologize for that. But those delays have been caused by a number of technical issues. Now you ask, could we have done better in terms of the architectures? Could we have done better in terms of the bidding and tendering process? Hindsight, they say, is 20/20. And so I would say absolutely. When we look back, you see mistakes that were made, you probably could have done better. But those mistakes have not cost us in terms of anything substantial financially. They have cost us in terms of time, in terms of delay. And I want to make that point that whilst that project is delayed, the quality of service has in fact improved at the Alexandra Hospital in that time. Recently, for example, I asked my team to reach out to St. Kitts because I'm told that in St. Kitts they were having problems at the hospital there with their CT scan and imaging equipment. And I said, listen, same way we used to go over to JNF to get attention, let people from St. Kitts come over to Alexandra to get that attention. We have matured to the point, and we are now sophisticated enough where we could say to our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts, we can pick up the slack for you if you're having a problem, just as you pick up the slack for us if we are having a problem. That's the level to which healthcare now in Nevis is at. And I'm very proud to say that we could offer that service to St. Kitts the same way that St. Kitts has in the past offered that service to us. Now, the latest difficulty and why no work has happened there for the year, and we're now in September, is because the contractors, having completed the exterior of the building, so all the structural work at the hospital is done. The exterior is done, windows are in, and we decided to paint the exterior in order to improve the aesthetics of the area, bearing in mind that this is being built behind the existing hospital. So, if you go there now, it doesn't look like a construction site on the exterior. That was the plan. So that when you go there, because hospitals are what they are, you want people to feel a sense of comfort. You want aesthetically for it to be as appealing as it can. That is why we took that decision to paint the exterior of that building. The interior work is where the focus now has to go. And the contractors said to us, Evelyn's Construction, well-known contractor on the island, they said to us, listen, they would like to have some quantity takeoffs for the interior. We agreed, we stopped the work, and we went and we found a professional in St. Kitts who offered that service. We paid for the service. Let's just say we have not got the work. I think that matter may now be in the court because that professional kept saying next week, next month. It has never happened. We have therefore been forced, after wasting months there, to now go, and we've found some professionals who have done some work for us before in the United States, and they're the ones who are now doing the quantity takeoffs that we need. I'm advised the last time, which I think was about 2 weeks ago, by the Minister of Health, that their timeline was 6 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, it would mean that it should be about another 4 weeks that we should have that information. And then we will sit to remobilize on that project. I will tell you this, Mr. Bart, that when we sat in our budget discussions this year, recall that our budget didn't happen until February this year, owing to the fact that we had a December election last year. I said to the team, and the team agreed, that the one priority in terms of capital projects this year would be the Alexandria Hospital wing. That was our priority. That was before the contractor intervened to tell us that he would be more comfortable if he had these quantity takeoffs. And so that is where we are. Had the professional that we paid to do the job in St. Kitts delivered, we would have been having a different conversation. But he did not. And after months of trying to get him to deliver, we now have to go to the court to resolve that, and we had to now turn elsewhere to look for somebody else to get the necessary information. This team out of the US has promised us 6 weeks, and so we anticipate that within the next 4 weeks or so, we would have that information. And so that is the expectation, and once we have that, we will mobilize afresh. You mentioned that somebody you say called Ian Patches Liberd was on some program. I was in cabinet shortly, for a short period, with a man called Ian Patches Liberd. And what I will say today on record is that nobody, Mr. Bart, has ever accused Ian Patches Liberd of being bright. It has never happened. And at his age now, I don't think it will ever happen again. So, I don't respond to nonsense. And when I hear some of these people and their nonsense, I leave it right there. If Mr. Patches had any appeal to the public, he would not have been fired from every single job that he has ever held. He is now where he is because, you know why? He told people, I know you and you know me. He should have left it at I know you. Because once he said they know him, that's why people vote against him. So I am not concerned about the likes of Patches Liberd. He is where he belongs, and he will forever now be a talk show host. That is his calling. Let him stay right there. Social Security has not indicated to us that there are any difficulties. I believe that we had, when Team Unity collapsed sometime in May of last year, when I suppose they were seeking to create as many problems as they could and create a narrative out there that we were somehow mismanaging Nevis, that Social Security had written saying that we owed some $9 million. Having looked at that, I smile because the bulk of that, almost $6 million, was what they call the social services levy. That's our money, meaning that that is collected, paid to Social Security, and Social Security pays it back to us. So it really ought to be the process of a simple set-off. But I understand that the mischief makers were at their best in that electoral period. But again, the people spoke. And in August, the people said to the CCM, as a former member of Team Unity, we are satisfied with you, and we're going to give you just what you had before, all 3 seats on the island of Nevis. That, Mr. Bart, for me, is what speaks most eloquently. So I am singularly unconcerned with what the likes of this gentleman have to say. As I said, his mistake was to tell people that they knew him, and he lost the election as a result of people knowing him. Any more questions for me?
Good morning. LaShawn Dixon, St. Kitts Nevis Observer. 2 questions. First of all, on the Hamilton Reserve Bank matter, do you have any comments regarding the matter, and are there any
Which matter are you talking about?
The lawsuit we get involving the Hamilton Reserve Bank.
Which lawsuit?
The $250 million.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And are there any concerns that the NIA may be dragged into that court matter? And also, on social media and radio programs, there have been many claims being bandied about NIA bankruptcy. What is the truth regarding the NIA financial health? And is it true that the NIA is struggling with its debt?
Mr. Dixon, there used to be a reporter here who used to tell me that people tell him something, and I used to ask him which people, and he couldn't say which people. I'm very wary of social media talking heads because a lot of times I believe these guys wake up and say, what story can I concoct today? A lot of times I see the stories, and when the stories are evaluated, oftentimes said to be breaking news, the stories have actually no basis, no foundation whatsoever. And it is truly difficult sometimes in government to respond to all of these things that have been said. NIA bankruptcy, the NIA financial position, has always been difficult because we are a small island managing as best as we can. But it is far-fetched to say that the NIA is either bankrupt or close to bankruptcy. The NIA, all during COVID, when Mr. Dixon, our economy had ground to a halt, we paid our workers on time and in full. We didn't issue any IOUs. The NIA, since COVID, has given our public servants thus far 10% salary increase with another 5% to come in January, 1st of January of next year. That doesn't sound to me like a government that is bankrupt. The government continues to deliver services and at the highest levels. I have just mentioned our health services. And so we have been functioning, difficult as it is sometimes to balance competing demands on the public purse, but we have been functioning. So this notion about bankruptcy is far-fetched and nonsensical. We have very good relations with our bankers. We have engaged with them. And I would not stand here and tell you that from time to time we don't have to go to our bankers and say, listen, our cash flow is difficult, so we need to lean on our overdraft facility. That happens, but that is the day-to-day functioning of any government. We are not a government, and that was one of the issues, if you recall, when we argued over fair share of the CBI proceeds and other opportunities, because we never had access to large sums that we could just deposit in the bank as surplus. We were always trying to manage the scarce resources that we had. But we have been doing so successfully and navigating the position successfully, and I believe that our financial partners, our bankers, are satisfied that we are paying our debt and we're paying our debt on time. So I don't think that there's any merit whatsoever to any such suggestion. You asked about the Hamilton Reserve Bank. It is a bank that is licensed here on the island of Nevis. And you are correct that we have been advised that they've been embroiled in some litigation with the government of Sri Lanka involving some bonds that that institution would have purchased, some government bonds, on which the Sri Lankan government defaulted. That is a private matter, meaning that it's a dispute between an investor, Hamilton Reserve Bank, and the Sri Lankan government. And we understand this dispute is being litigated in the courts in the United States. I believe it's in New York. So it really has nothing to do with the government or the NIA, because we were not privy to the arrangements that were entered into between Hamilton Reserve Bank and Sri Lanka. Hamilton Reserve Bank seems to be very optimistic that they will prevail, and we'll just have to wait and see how that case turns out. I gather that they've asked for what is called summary judgment on the basis that the Sri Lankan government will have no defense, because it is clear that the money was invested and the Sri Lankan government has defaulted. But we'll have to wait and see. The NIA is not a party. We're simply paying attention, and our regulators are paying attention to see how that case pans out. So that's as much as I could offer you in relation to that, but I have no reason to think that there could be any claim made against the Nevis Island administration, because we were not privy to that. To put that differently, if the permanent secretary here and yourself were to enter into some kind of contract for you to do some work for him, and that were to end up in court, that has nothing to do with the government. That's a personal and private matter between both of you. So that's as best as I could explain it, Mr. Dixon. And I believe that the U.S. system, they publish often what's happening with these cases, so we are following it through the media and through regular outreach by our regulators to determine what's happening in relation to that matter. Any more questions for me?
Good morning, Premier Brantley.
Good morning.
Danella Thompson, Vaughan Radio. As it relates to BEAD, we know that the NIA is basically finished with the BEAD. Also, Mr. Premier, you announced some time back that the NIA will be looking to get back its money, basically having been paid and not doing what they were supposed to do. which was to drill wells to improve the water situation on Nevis. So the question is, could you explain to the people of Nevis as to why this was announced recently, considering that Bede left the island a few years ago? Also, can an update be provided on the status of MSR Media on Nevis? Are you at liberty to say when they will start shooting films on the island again? And third question, as it relates to the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park and the Pinnis area, regarding the next phase, that would be the additional lighting and parking and other facilities, when is that expected to begin? And the fourth question, can an update be provided on the airport expansion project? Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, thank you as always. You always ask me the most difficult questions, so let me try to navigate them as best as I can. The issue with Bede, we had, as we indicated, contracted Bede to do some drilling for us. Bede did not deliver on that arrangement, and I believe that matter is currently before the court, because we have sought to get back our money. Bede and or its affiliates are now in St. Kitts drilling in Keon, I believe, was the last that I heard. And so we have had some informal discussion with them, because at the end of the day, getting back our money, fine, but what we really want are the wells drilled. I'm aware, and I've just said this morning, that the water department here is wanting to proceed with the drilling of 5 wells. And we have recently had I don't know what the proper term is, but I think a geologist who has mapped the area again for us, a chap called Skip Hogue. He had done some work before. He has now come back and done an updated version. So he's telling us with a greater degree of precision where we should drill to access water. So we are currently going out to bid. If Bede is able to do that drilling for us, they have money for us, so we are not disinclined to engage with them. But that will be a decision that the government will have to take, because the first time we paid them, they did not deliver. So we are going to have to look at that carefully, but as I said in my earlier report, we intend to go out to bid, and we have identified 5 potential drillers already who we are hopeful will be willing to come in and to do the drilling for us. And this is a project that we're anticipating for early next year. All right, so it won't happen this year, early next year. In relation to MSR Media, MSR Media, of course, would have relocated their efforts to St. Kitts. I gather they would have bought OTI, the former OTI hotel. And I'm not sure what MSR is doing now in terms of filmmaking. I know that they've involved, their business seems to have changed, where they're involved now in other things like citizenship by investment. Our deal with MSR was always a deal to make movies on Nevis, and I believe that they delivered on that deal, and that the island would have benefited through employment and also through exposure. It also, of course, led to us realizing that we have potential here to have a film industry. And so the island is already looking past MSR. In fact, I have been in recent contact with Mr. Philip Martinez from MSR, and we're now talking about some others who want to come in to do a film here, and hopeful that MSR can help them navigate what is happening here on the island. So we are already moving forward in relation to what we want to do for film. We thank MSR because they were the ones who showed us that it was possible, but we are not wedded to MSR. We are looking for a much wider platform for film and film development here. And so I don't know what MSR's plans are. They told me they had planned to shoot some kind of series in St. Kitts and Nevis, but as I said, that for us is important if it happens, but if it doesn't happen, we are focused now on other producers as well coming in, and we have some excellent leads. I believe that that will materialize in due course, and that is what we are working on. So I'm very satisfied that the MSR partnership worked for the island, and that island is now poised to fashion new partnerships and to get additional and other producers to come in. MSR succeeded in putting us on the map, and that's what we wanted to do, and I think we've achieved that. The Malcolm Gishard Park, you asked me about the next phase and when is it expected to begin. The work has actually been ongoing for several months already. So the work was begun a long time ago. In fact, if you drive down, you'd realize that there's a fencing and all that that is put up. There's a lot of work going on behind that. We're doing, remember, lighting. We've already completed the boardwalk, which is going to take you from the current park to the beach. We've put in some retaining walls because there was a problem there whenever the rains came. The gut at the back of Sunshine's area would flood, and that would flood out all the restaurants. So we already dealt with that. We're doing some additional engineering. We're putting in better sewage disposal down there for the restaurants. We're going to be putting in proper roadways, proper lighting, proper security, and proper parking. And then, of course, we're going to landscape the area as well. It is our ambition that when we're done, which will be sometime in the coming year, that Pemiers will become the go-to area in Nevis for leisure. So when people want to go to the park to relax, or they want to go out with their family to eat, or they want to party at nights, that Pemiers will be the go-to area. And so that is our aim. So the work of Ms. Thompson is already ongoing, and in fact is very, very well advanced as we speak. The airport expansion, excellent question. The last update I had from the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, who's leading that particular project, is that the consultants will be shortly on island. They're moving here. They'll be based here. We should have a signing ceremony with them shortly. We will say more to the press when that's arranged. And we expect to start the public consultations on the project. Remember, there was a clamor about public consultations, and I said, just wait. That will happen in time. Well, the consultants are going to lead that consultation. We are also anticipating that we will be able to formalize and finalize the arrangements with the property owners in the area. We have been in direct communication, some with them directly, others with their lawyers. We have had a few have already accepted the offer that we've made to purchase their property, and we are negotiating with the others for purchase of their property so that we can have the necessary land to do what we need to do. And so it's for public purpose. That purpose is the expansion of the airport, and we are hopeful that people will be reasonable. Of course, we understand our people. Some are trying to be as unreasonable as they can in terms of price, but we are negotiating good faith, and we hope that that process will be complete. So that process is happening simultaneously as the consultants doing their work, and all that is happening, and the consultations will happen very shortly. So we hope that when the consultations start, that people will be willing to come out and to share their views and see how we can make the project the best possible project that we can for the island of Nevis. Any more questions for me?
Megan Lashawn Dixon from The Observer. With the Prime Minister's announcement of the independence we set last week in land, water, electricity, and for workers, with the expectation that Nevis workers will benefit from the reset as well, are there any plans to match what Dr. Drew had done here in Nevis, especially with the water and electricity?
When you say for the workers, what do you mean?
The $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the workers for the 1,000 is a national program. Yeah. So there's no reason, there's no need for Nevis to match anything because the announcement was made, and I thank Dr. Drew and the federal government that this is a national independence reset, as you call it, as he called it, I'm sorry. So all workers who qualify will get that $1,000. I don't know if it started yet, if persons have benefited yet. I know some people were waiting by the ATM, I was told. So some interesting memes floating around with people are standing by the ATM waiting for the $1,000. But that light moment aside, that was extended to all the workers who qualify. So anybody who's registered with Social Security and qualifies will benefit from that. In terms of electricity and water, the reset, as I understand it, now that I've seen the details, because the announcement was made, but the details came after. And the details that I saw was basically that they would reconnect persons who had been disconnected, but those persons must go in and come to an arrangement as to how they will pay off that amount, and they will waive the reconnection fee. That's my understanding. So really, persons are being given some relief, but it's not the carte blanche, I think, that many people thought they were getting, many people expected that they were getting, now that the details have been published. Some people seem to have thought that if there were $20,000, that just wiped off. That doesn't appear to be the case. It appears what they're doing is saying, we'll reconnect you so that you're not out of power, out of water, but you must come in and come to some acceptable arrangement as to how you will pay, and we will waive the reconnection fee. You ask if something similar is going to be done in Nevis, and the short answer is no. And the answer is no because we in Nevis have been doing resets of that nature for quite some time. We all during COVID assisted people in terms of water and electricity. We even now continue to say to people, listen, if you can't pay your bill, don't allow yourself to be disconnected. Come in and talk to us and let us come to an arrangement. So really it is an ongoing reset that we've been experiencing here in Nevis in relation to these people. And when you see Nevlec and Water Department in Nevis disconnect, it is really because these individuals have shown no interest whatsoever in coming in to pay. Because we usually say to them, once you have a plan, you know that saying, we prefer to collect than to disconnect? That is the sentiment here in Nevis. So once you can come in and say, listen, I can't pay the $1,000, but I can pay $200, $300, we prefer to work with you. So we continue to encourage people to do that. So there's no need for that in Nevis. In relation to the land and the concessions granted by Dr. Drew to first-time builders or to those who are building residential homes, again, we have had a program in Nevis since 2020 offering the same. VAT, customs duty off, customs service charge off, in some cases VAT off. There were various layers. But that program has been in place since 2020, and we extended it. It was part of our COVID response. We extended it, and I think it finally ends this year, December. So it has been ongoing now for the past 3 years, from 2020 until now. So this program, in fact, based on what I'm told by our Ministry of Finance officials in Nevis, the colleagues in Sinkis had actually asked them how that program had worked, right? So that where you see a program that's working, you try to roll it out as well. So I don't see that there's a need for Nevis to do what it's already doing, because we already have been doing that since 2020. So that program for us is Dr. Drew has tweaked it, of course, because, for example, he said VAT, I think, reduced to 13%. We did not reduce the VAT to 13% on all of the categories, but we extended, unlike his program, our program in Nevis was also extended to commercial builders. So the TTCs and the hospitals and the business people who were doing apartments or whatever, they also got the benefit of that program here. So I think, Mr. Dixon, that the reset in Nevis has been happening for some time now. There's no need for Nevis to do an announcement, because we would have done those announcements before, and we have been working systematically on providing relief and providing a mechanism for people to benefit for some time now. So that is where we are in relation to that, that what is now being proposed is really, the big item there is really the benefit to potential homeowners, and that is something that we already have existing in Nevis. So it didn't make any sense for me to make a new announcement about an existing program.
Or any kind of reset, any kind of initiative?
Well, no, because initiatives that we have and we put in place have been working. I mean, construction now is at an all-time high. We just got the numbers from our planning department, and between 2020 and June of 2023, so 2020, 21, 22, June, 3.5 years, we've had something like 1,008 building permits issued, right? So that's averaging in 3.5 years over 300, almost 300 per year. And if you look around Nevis, you realize that the construction sector here, because of policies that we introduced, so the reset that we reset in Nevis has actually been working, because we see an explosion in construction. We see people being employed. We also see people improving their homes, building new homes. Some are building second homes. But the concessions were expanded to cover all of those people. So rather than just first-time homeowners, we say, listen, if you have a home already and you have money to build a second one, we will assist. If you have a commercial building you want to renovate, or you want to put up a commercial building, we will assist. If you want to expand your existing building, expand your existing home, we will assist. And so a lot of people responded very positively to that. So to me, the reset has been in place in Nevis for some time, and it has been working. Our officials continue to monitor, and they have not said to me that they need anything new. There is a limit, Mr. Dixon, to how much the government can give away. It's as simple as that. Because people see it and say, oh, this is free. Nothing is really ever free, because you have to find some way to make up that shortfall. So when you forego revenue here, you run yourself into difficulty over there. You may have to borrow, or you have to find some other way to make up that shortfall. I'll give you a good example. When our people were crying out last year about the fuel surcharge, we removed the fuel surcharge from residential users in Nevis. That created a huge hole in the government finances. But we thought it was an important thing to do to protect our people, especially our most vulnerable. We left it on the businesses, but we removed it from the residential. And the reason we did that was, as you know, the person who has the house in Cotton Ground or the house in Brownhill, and the single mother who's there with her 2 children, she has nobody she can pass on the surcharge to. The business houses, Rams and Superfoods, not Superfoods anymore, Value Mart and those, Best Buy, they can factor it into their prices. So if their cost goes up, they sell their product at a higher cost to you. And who are you? The same single mother with 2 children in Brownhill. So she was actually paying twice, because she was paying surcharge on her domestic use, and she paying, again, an increased price in the supermarket for goods and services across the island, because business houses were passing on the cost to their customers. So we said, you know what? Business houses, you're going to pass it on anyway. You continue to pay. But we provide the relief to those who needed it most. And that comes at a cost. We've been, frankly, struggling to keep up with it. But we are committed to that course, and we are hopeful that over time our people can see the benefit of that saving that they would have had. Because electricity bills, frankly, were killing people on the island of Nevis. People blame the government, but it's really not the government. It's nothing we could do in terms of the cost of fuel, because our fuel is being generated, our electricity is being generated by imported fuel. So whenever that escalated, you know, unfortunately, our people paid the price. But we responded as a government to try and provide a cushion. So all of those were reset initiatives. I mean, we've been resetting and resetting in Nevis. So we now need to just settle down, allow those various policies to work, and they have been working, and allow the economy now to expand and grow. And we are hopeful that we will continue to see the benefits of those policies manifest themselves. As I said, we're already seeing it in construction. The sector here is doing incredibly well, and we're very happy at what we're seeing. Any further questions for me, Mr. Bart?
Glenn Bart, SK Newsline. A question with regards to geothermal. Now, the last time I think you spoke about it, you had indicated that a special road would need to be constructed from the, I think it's the Long Point port area or something thereabouts.
No. The road that I'm talking about is actually a road that will be closer to the site.
Oh,
so in the Hamilton area.
Hamilton area.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the timeline is now on the overall project, but it would seem to me that you'll have to complete this road before the arrival of the rigs. Could you basically give us a new update now on what is happening with regards to the tendering processes, the road, the arrival of the rig, and also to comment on the fact that in the past, when you look at the history of geothermal in the Eastern Caribbean, several countries have attempted it, and there have been problems and issues, and none have been really successful. This time around, it seems as if there is a very high likelihood of success. But so let's assume that the drilling process goes well, we have production wells. What about the financing? How confident are you that you'll find the financing then to build the plant? That's the question.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Bart. I am not in a position now to give you a comprehensive update, because I myself am awaiting that update from the technocrats. The process is being driven by NEVLEC, our local utility, and by the Caribbean Development Bank. The last conversation that I had, which was just about 3 weeks ago or thereabouts, with one of the technocrats from the Development Bank, indicated that the tendering process that we had failed. So when I say failed, what it means is that we did not get from that process a company that we had confidence in could deliver on the project. So they decided that they would go back, but they would do a truncated process this time. So they would actually identify a number of companies that have the capacity and invite those companies to bid on the process, rather than just an open-ended bidding process. The process has been slower than we would have liked, because, of course, these monies are coming from various organizations, all of which have their own rules in relation to tender and how, for various transparency and other considerations. So if you're going to get money, say, from the United Kingdom through the CDB, or you're going to get money through the, Jeff or Green Climate Fund or any of those through the CDB, they all come with requirements as to how, because they have to answer to their own parliaments, etc., and their own organizations in terms of transparency. That's a big thing now. But that slows the process. So it's not like we can say, well, Mr. Bart has experience in drilling. Mr. Bart, how much you would charge us to do this project? Let's go. It has to be an open process. So now they're saying they'll truncate, still open, but not as open as it was, because now they'll identify specific players and ask those players to bid. But we still have to do that bidding process. The last I was told is that process was on its way, and that we had to push back the date, because originally we were saying that by June of this year, last June, we should have had the driller in place, meaning a contract, and therefore have drill rigs in place by now, September, October. Now we've had to push it back, and I'm told that we should have a driller in place by December of this year. So we've lost 6 months already because of the process. One of the difficulties, Mr. Bart, is to do with what we call a financing gap. The CDB approved $17 million US, but the project on the drilling phase, because we're doing 5 wells, 3 injection and 2 re-injection wells. 3 production wells, I'm sorry, and 2 re-injection. That's the proper language. 3 production wells and 2 re-injection wells. And that is working out at closer to about $13 million. So the 17 million is not taking us all the way, because we have, in addition, the road that you mentioned. We have some water issues, because the drilling is going to require up to 1 million gallons a day to cool the drill bits. So we have all of those additional infrastructure that is necessary in order for us to get to where we need to go. So that financing gap is the subject of a discussion that's ongoing between the federal government and the NIA. We're speaking to Dr. Drew. I can say that he is very committed to this project. He sees it as a national project, as do we, that this project has the potential to offer geothermal energy, not only to the island of Nevis, but also to St. Kitts, and that we can electrify the entire country from this resource. So that is the intention. It's just no different if you were to discover oil in Sandy Point. That oil in Sandy Point can provide fuel for the entire country. Similar concern. So we are working together. He, of course, is at the United Nations now, the General Assembly. So we do plan to meet. And that's why I said I will be in a much better position in a few weeks to offer a more comprehensive update on where we are, timing, and all of that, than I am now, because there are still some unanswered questions, particularly about the funding gap that I've described, that needs to be resolved. He and I will meet when he's back. We've committed to that, and we will be able to resolve that particular issue. There are some friendly governments, United States and the UK in particular, who have also said that they would be interested in assisting with that funding gap, if, of course, we can demonstrate that this is, in fact, a national project. So we need to be singing from the same hymn sheet. The Prime Minister and myself, St. Kitts and Nevis, federally, and the island of Nevis as a constituent element of that federation. You said several OECS countries have tried without success. The truth is that the only 2 places that I'm aware of where the resource has been proven, well, 3 have been Montserrat, Dominica, and Nevis. St. Lucia did not find the necessary resource, as far as I'm told, that they needed. So it's not every volcanic island. St. Kitts, for example, is a volcanic island, but St. Kitts does not have the resource, because you need heat, and you need a consistency of that heat, and you need the steam, of course, that heat will produce. So some are not hot enough, right? And so Nevis is hot enough. Nevis, they say, has a very viable resource. There's a company called Geothermics that would have done an analysis here in Nevis, so we have an excellent resource. So Dominica has, in fact, proceeded. Dominica has, in fact, this year drilled, is it two production wells, I think, using a company called Icelandic Drilling. It had been our hope that we could get Icelandic Drilling to come from Dominica to Nevis, but again, that did not materialize. As far as I know, they went back to Iceland to do a project there. So Dominica is proceeding. I'm still optimistic that if we can get this going, we will be neck and neck with Dominica in terms of being able to bring to market this geothermal project. The drilling you asked about financing for the plant, we're told by the experts that the drilling is the riskiest part of this venture. That's where most people have the biggest concern as investors. But once the drilling is done and the resource is available, then the rest is just easy to do. And so that is why the CDB came up with this contingency, what do they call it? CRG, contingency recoverable grant mechanism, to say, listen, drill, if you find nothing, it's a grant. But if you find what you know you're going to find, and what the science says is there, then it becomes a long-term loan. They came up with that instrument to do exactly that, to try and remove the risk, because that's the difficulty we had over all these years. No private investor wanted to take that level of risk unless they had things like sovereign guarantees, they had a power purchase agreement, they were charging quite exorbitant. I mean, the rates that we were negotiating with private developers were 19 cents US per kilowatt hour, for example. Under this new mechanism that we're proposing, we're seeing rates of about 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So the difference is huge. The downside is, of course, greater delay, because whereas you could go to a private company, once they have the money, they come in and they do it, right? That's what the NRP had tried with Westinghouse Power, and that's what, when we came in, we went out to tender and we had a company, NREI, Nevis Renewable Energy International or something. Same problem, they could not raise the money to take it to the next level. So we switched gears, we abandoned the NREI project that came to an end, and we switched gears and we went to the CDB. We got the 17 million approved 9th of December last year, but as I said, the process has become bogged down with the bidding process, you know, and it's difficult, it's complex, but I understand that donors and contributors want to know that their money is not, there's no corruption and all of that in relation to their money. So the process has to be as open and as transparent as possible. But that's where we are at this point. Anything further for me? Okay, it is 11:45, so I think we've done quite well. I want to thank all of you. I thank especially Mr. Dixon and Mr. Barr, who came over from St. Kitts, Ms. Thompson, who's always here from Von Radio, NTV, and Ms. Hewlett. Thank you all very much for being here. And my good friend Carl in the back there, always quiet, but he's responsible for all of the technical aspects we see here. Thank you very much, and I look forward to engaging with you again next month for another edition of the Premier's Monthly Press Conference. Thank you.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN FM.